right. Hello, book lovers. Welcome to our Children's Editors Picks. These books have all been nominated by our publishers as exciting new voices, traditionally under-supported voices, voices that we really want to amplify. And I think you're going to leave with lots of books to add to your to-be-read list. This is Sarah Richmond from Edelweiss by Above the Tree Line. I'm just here facilitating. I'm really excited to introduce you to these books and the editors and the authors behind them. I have two young boys myself, so when I was putting together the slides for these books, I definitely added a lot of them to my own list as well. These are some great books to add to your collection. But first, I want to take just a quick second and make note that this session is part of an ongoing work of Treeline 2020, which supports diversity, equity, and inclusion in the publishing industry. So this underlines all the work that we do as a company, but Treeline 2020 in particular accomplishes this goal through investing in organizations doing great work, providing access to internships and scholarships, and also amplifying under-supported voices. So thank you for participating and making all this possible. So today's session is pretty special. We're going to hear about an amazing collection of books. So whether you are a bookseller or a librarian, maybe a reviewer, or just someone who's really passionate about reading, you're going to leave with some good books to add to your list. Don't worry, we are going to share all the links to these books in Edelweiss so you can read more about them, or you can track them. You can add them to your shelves, add them to an order. If you're listening at Bookfest, you can also add these to your tote bag and even purchase them directly from the independent bookstore of your choice. So we have representatives from all of these publishers today. Some of them are the authors themselves, and they're each going to take just a few minutes and share why they're so excited about their book. So we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to start with Songs on the Vanilla Trail, African Lullabies and Nursery Rhymes from the East and Southern Africa. And Katie Sale is going to talk to us about it.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Katie Sale, and I'm the marketing manager for The Secret Mountain, a Montreal-based children's publisher that specializes in musical books for children. So it's an honor to present with everyone here today, and on behalf of all the contributors who were involved in creating this really special book. Songs on the Vanilla Trail is a musical picture book featuring 25 traditional lullabies and nursery rhymes from East and Southern Africa, a region known as the Vanilla Trail, thanks to its production of more than 60% of the world's vanilla. This includes Madagascar, Reunion, the Comoros Islands, and several other nations. Each hardcover book includes a CD, as well as a unique code to download the digital files. So you can listen on long car rides or on your preferred device, however you like. The book presents lyrics alongside vibrant and joyful illustrations that were created by Magali Atiobe, a Togo-born Paris-based artist. The lyrics appear in their original language and are translated into English in the back of the book. There you can also find a map of the region, as well as extensive notes on the countries and cultural background and fun facts about each song. Assembled by the French writer Nathalie Susanna and produced by Jean-Christophe Waro, this collection brings together a team of 8 musicians and more than 20 vocalists, including Costa Neto from Mozambique, Nawal from Comoros, and Aloise, a 5-year-old who performs the first track on the album with her father. Some songs may be familiar to you, including the South African tune Mbebe, which was adapted and popularized in English as Wimowe by Pete Seeger, and The Lion Sleeps Tonight by the Tokens. If you're my age, you might remember it from The Lion King. This collection also includes 4 different versions of the song Frère Jacques from Madagascar, Reunion, South Africa, and Mayotte. On each song, you'll hear traditional instruments such as the kayam, gambuzi, and valiha, which is performed by Justin Valley, who is considered by many to be one of the greatest living players of the instrument. Songs on the Vanilla Trail will be released October 1st, and it's the 7th book in a series that includes Songs in the Shade of the Cashew and Coconut Trees, which came out in 2019, and it's a collection of songs from West Africa and the Caribbean. It was just awarded a Children's Africana Book Award this year at the Library of Congress in the United States. Other books in the collection feature songs from Maghreb, Brazil and Portugal, French Creole, and there's another collection of traditional Jewish songs. This is one of the most popular collections for the Secret Mountain, and when you listen to the music and flip through the illustrations, you'll really understand why. These songs are a joyful celebration of music from around the world, and they're a great way to travel and discover cultural themes and traditions in different places. This book is going to be coming out October 1st. It's available on Edelweiss now. And we've got a lot of fun videos, activity sheets, and events in the works. So be sure to follow us on social media to make sure that you don't miss a thing. That's everything. Feel free to reach out anytime. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Katie. That sounds like a great thing to listen to if you have a road trip and you want to play some music and really enjoy that with your kids. It's amazing.
It's perfect for that.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go to the second book on our list. We have Together, and we have the author and the illustrator on the call today, and they're going to talk about their book that's coming out in October as well.
Hi everybody. So I'm Innocent Nagara, and I'm the author and illustrator of a bunch of social justice themed children's books. A is for Activist was my first book, and Counting on Community was the second board book that I did, and then a whole bunch of picture books and actually middle grade chapter books that I wrote. And with the success of each of my books, with A is for Activists in particular and Counting on Community, there's always been this question that comes up. It's like, well, what's your next book going to be? And I've always resisted trying to just do another book just to make a series. You know, I wanted to write the next book if the right idea came up. And the thing that I always wanted to do something about is something about collective action and sort of how coming together matters and how that's how we make change. But the problem is so many of the stories that are about collective action seem to sort of follow, you know, they're not wrong, but it's often sort of the same story. And I really wanted to find the right way to talk about how collective action that works for really young children. And it was when I read Together by my friend Mona that I suddenly realized that is the best way to do this. And so I got really excited to do Together with her. Mona's been, and I've worked together since early on. She was involved in A is for Activists when I was first working on field testing that, reading it with other kids. And so we've worked together for a long time, but this was, she sort of hit the nail on the head as far as I'm concerned on the concept of collective action. And so I was excited to illustrate it and to have it be sort of like the third in the series after A is for Activists and Counting on Community. I'm going to hand it over to Mona. She's going to talk a little bit more about her experience with it and maybe even read a little bit for you.
Thank you, Eno. So hello, I'm Mona Damluji. I'm a mother, I'm an activist, I'm a poet, and I'm a professor of film and media studies at UC Santa Barbara. So my 4-year-old daughter has been to a number of protests in her young life already. And when she talks to me about her experience and the memory of being at those protests, she always talks about the overwhelming and powerful feeling of being together in space with so many people at once and joining voices together, whether we're singing or chanting or people are sharing their stories through at a mic or through the people's mic. And so when I wrote Together, which is a poem and a book, I really wanted to celebrate that beautiful dimension of social justice work, that empowering and transformational experience of collective action. And I also wanted to draw our attention to and celebrate the ways that the power of the collective shapes and transforms the world all around us, every day in small and in big ways. And as soon as I wrote the poem and it was done, I immediately knew, even as I was writing it, that the words needed the magic of Eno's brilliant illustration to really come alive and to become a book. And I'll just say that his artwork for the book, it far exceeded my already very high expectations of what he's capable of doing. And there's a beautiful example in my background from the book. So since we have a little bit more time, I'd be delighted to share a reading from the book together. And unfortunately, we don't have all the illustrations, but you have a sample of it here. So this is Together. One star shines its distant light, And when stars shine together, they make our galaxy. One bee wanders through my garden. And when bees work together, they are a colony. One bird calls into the wind. And when birds call together, they make cacophony. One tree grows toward the sun. And when trees grow together, they make a canopy. One voice sings a tender song. And when voices sing together, they make harmony. One instrument plays an unforgettable beat. And when instruments play together, they are a symphony. One mountain rises to a mighty peak. And when mountains rise together, they are majesty. One wave is a surfer's dream. And when waves move together, they are an endless sea. One of us can make a home. And when we come together, we are family. One of us can love with all our heart. And when we love together, we build community. One of us can speak up for justice. And when we speak up together, we create a world of possibility. Thank you so much.
And with the visuals, you'll be able to see sort of how those ideas are also then connected to deeper social justice concepts as well. And, you know, whereas A is for activists, the kids get to look for a cat, and counting on community, they get to look for a duck. And on this one, should we tell them, or do they have to? They get to look for a frog.
It's really fun.
I love that. That sounds like a book that needs to be in every classroom, preschool, and making it just accessible to young children. It's great.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Okay, well, we're going to move to another book, and we have Barefoot Dreams by Petra. I hope I said that right. If not, Alda here is the author, and she will correct me.
Yeah, thank you. I want to thank first Sarah and Vice for having me here. I'm honored to be one of the editors pick. And it's Barefoot Dreams of Petra. You can see the book cover. You see the last name there. And so Luna, you know, of course, means moon in Spanish. And this is a story of 12-year-old Petra who stops at nothing to keep her family safe during the Mexican Revolution, which happened back in 1913. And the story was based on inspired by my great-grandmother and my grandmother as well. Other stories were passed down the family to my mother, who passed them down to me. And there were stories of poverty, of just harsh poverty, hunger, and a lot of adversities that were happening during that time that ultimately led to the Mexican Revolution. And one of the stories my great-grandmother shared with me was escaping her burning village and crossing the desert with her family, reaching the town of Piedras Negras, which is a border city to Eagle Pass, Texas. And when they reached the bridge, they were afraid because the Federalists, the established Mexican army, was after them. And they couldn't cross. The border was shut. The US government had shut it down, and they had to wait days there, and they were afraid, you know, for their lives. And it wasn't until the Federalists actually showed up and wheeled their cannons and aimed them at the crowd that my great-grandmother said that everything, you know, chaos broke loose, and everybody rushed to the bridge and begged the US Army to let them in. And at that moment, the soldiers came over and opened the gates, and everybody ran through. So my great-grandmother was always excited about that story. And when I began writing, I figured, you know, let me do the research first to see if it's accurate. And it took months and months of reading old newspapers, because the books, it didn't have this information. And finally, I found an article after about 7 months of constant research. I found an article that depicted the whole event. So it was pretty exciting to find that it had actually happened. And my great-grandmother had said it was hundreds of people, but it was actually thousands of people. So I love the story just because of the many things I've found and how close I feel to my family. My great-grandmother and grandmother both that have passed already, but this book has brought me closer to them. And one of the reasons I believe this story is important is because, if you could go to the next slide, I have a slide here that shows these pictures of that I did in my research. And if you look at that first on the top left, you see the contrast of the social classes. You see the two girls walking opposites of the four ladies dressed in silks, and then you see the two barefoot girls, which would have been my great-grandmother and grandmother. And you see that vast contrast then, and you see it now, which is on the right side. And you also see the people escaping violence in their homelands at the bottom left 100 years ago in Mexico. And you see that now, this modern pictures from 2 months ago. And the refugee camps, which is one of them that my great-grandmother stayed in Eagle Pass, you see that then and now as well. So it's important for children to realize that the echoes of history, that history tends to repeat itself. And we also have to teach them that empathy and humanitarian help existed back then, and it also exists now. So I think it's a good tool to expose or tell kids of these stories. And a lot of the stories that were not taught in schools or found in books. So thank you again for listening to my spiel here. And also thanks to Sourcebooks too for helping me with this book. And thank you, Sarah, again. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I think you said a good point there, that these are stories that are often not told in the normal education system, but are really important stories for children to hear.
That's true. Yes. And it was frustrating because I could not find this incident. And after I read about 40 books on the Mexican Revolution, none of them mentioned that. So I was having my doubts, but yeah, once I found a newspaper article and it just trickled from there, I found so much more. So I'm just excited to share this, this piece of history that's not often shared.
Right, and a family legacy too. Thanks for sharing.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Okay. Well, we're going to move on to the mystery of the Taj Mahal treasure. And we have the author here. Raj Halder is going to talk to us about it.
Thanks, Sarah. Hey, everyone. Thanks for having me. I am so excited to be here and tell you about Word Travelers. It's my upcoming early reader series that I believe is the first series of its kind, introducing kids ages 7 to 11 to the fascinating world of word origins and etymology through the globetrotting adventures of best friends Eddie and Molly Jean. I wanted to spend a few minutes and discuss kind of why an adventure series framed around word origins felt so important for me to make. As a kid growing up in a bilingual household, I remember these interesting moments where my two worlds would sort of collide. My parents immigrated from India and we mostly spoke our mother tongue, Bengali, at home. By the time I was in 3rd or 4th grade, I can remember already being fascinated when I'd hear English words in school that were clearly loan words from Indian culture: guru, chutney, karma, so many others. Even the band Nirvana, who were a cultural phenomenon by the time I was in middle school, had Indian culture, of course, to thank for their name. And so discovering that so much of my own background had informed the way people around me would talk, eat, dress, and even listen to music helped me fundamentally understand my place in the world as I struggled to fit in like any other second generation child of immigrants in America. It wasn't this one-way street where I was adopting the parts of Western culture that spoke to me, but really knowing that India and its 140 plus languages continue to have this profound impact on the English language was the first spark that allowed me to see our world inherently as a cultural exchange. So fast forward to the present, and the cultural climate of the last several years proves that it's more important than ever for kids to understand their world as a dialogue between cultures. We don't need to build walls. We of course need to break them down. Given my formative experiences, I can't think of a better way to share an inclusive worldview to kids than by underscoring everyday words that come from cultures all over the world. So that's how my new early reader adventure series, Word Travelers, was born, along with its main characters, best friends Eddie and Molly Jean, a nod to etymology, the study of word origins, of course. So in each book, Molly Jean, or MJ for short, and her buddy Eddie travel to a far-flung location using their awesome enchanted book, or AEB as I call it, which helps them uncover the mystery at hand and save the day by learning the enthralling global origins of words we use every day. For example, did you know that ketchup is Chinese for fish sauce, or that jumbo comes from the Swahili word for elephant? How about the word quarantine, a word that we use so often these days? It comes to us from an Italian phrase meaning 40 days, which is the length of time you need to stay put at home during the Black Plague, if only. So in their globe-trotting adventures, Eddie and MJ learn about these fascinating word origins and so much more as they uncover the incredible word-wide conspiracy around them. And what better place to start the Word Traveler's adventures than the place that was so fundamental to my own journey. After several years working behind the scenes to bring this book series to life, I'm super excited to share the first Word Travelers book with you. The Mystery of the Taj Mahal Treasure finds our heroes traveling to incredible India, where they must help their new friend Dev find a long-lost family treasure before the dastardly Mr. Raffles gets his hands on it and turns their beloved school into yet another department store. Little gentrification theme there. Along the way, MJ and Eddie solve puzzles and clues, learning that shampoo comes from a Hindi word that means to rub, bandana from the Sanskrit to tie, and even the ancient Indian origins of the board game Chutes and Ladders. All of this exhilarating action is brought to life with these amazing illustrations from the incredibly talented Neha Rawat, who herself is based in Bangalore, India. So I often get asked if there's a common bond between my various creative projects. Most people know me as the rapper Lush Life. Fans of picture books might know me from the titles P is for Pterodactyl and No Reading Aloud. Well, I think there's a word nerd kernel inside everything that I do, from hip hop to kids' books. And with that in mind, the new Word Travelers series might be my most exciting project yet. The first Word Travelers book, The Mystery of the Taj Mahal Treasure, comes out October 5th, I believe, via Sourcebooks Explore, and is available on Edelweiss, of course. So request an e-arc and stay tuned for 2 further titles in the Word Traveler series being announced very soon. And I hope that came in under 5 minutes.
Awesome. I have an early reader in my household, and I can't tell you how many times he asked me, why is it the word spelled that way? Or where did this word come from? Or why does this word sound like this word? And so I think that's great for their stage of development and their curiosity. And
absolutely. Etymologies are so fascinating to grown-ups, and as I started looking around, I didn't find much for kids, but I only imagine that they are just as interesting for early readers as they are for us, and so that's why this series exists.
Well, future word nerds have to start somewhere.
Yep.
Thank you. All right. Well, let's go on to Good Night Stories for Rebel Girls, 100 Real-Life Tales of Black Girl Magic. And we've got Lily on, who was the editor and a writer in the book, I believe.
Yes, indeed. Hello, everyone. Hi, Sarah, and thank you so much for having me here today. I'm super excited to talk more about Good Night Stories for Rebel Girls, 100 Real-Life Tales of Black Girl Magic. To share a bit more about this series. So this is actually the 4th installment in the award-winning Good Night Stories for Rebel Girls book series. The first and second books in the series actually broke crowdfunding records and were both New York Times bestsellers. So we hope to continue the tradition in terms of success. And all the books now are currently published through Rebel Girls, which is an independent company that is now really focused on instilling confidence and inspiring young girls around the world through the stories we tell, both in our books and in our podcast, and a slate of all new digital offerings. So we have actually sold more than 6 million books total, and all of our books are translated into more than 51 languages. So I'm excited to share a bit more about this book in particular, which is coming out later this year. It's the first culturally specific book and iteration in the volume or in the series that we have that is exclusively dedicated to telling the stories of Black women and girls. And what makes this book really special to me is that authenticity was really, really important in bringing this book to life. And so we co-created this book with the creator of the hashtag Black Girl Magic herself. Her name is Kashawn Thompson. She not only started the Black Girl Magic movement, but really helped to popularize it and define what Black Girl Magic means. And we wanted to make sure that the stories that we tell stay true to the spirit and essence of Black Girl Magic. So she wrote the foreword and also helped to consult on the project. And for me, myself, I have been in the media world for the last 9 years, specifically in Black media, where I've been dedicating my career to sort of amplifying the stories and voices of Black people around the world, but primarily and particularly Black women. I've held previous roles leading HuffPost Black Voices and was previously the editor-in-chief of Blabbity News, which is a news platform dedicated to Black millennials. So I follow the Black Girl Magic movement really closely and was super excited to work with Rebel Girls to bring this book to life. To share a bit more about the book. So again, keeping in mind authenticity, we really wanted to make sure that this book told the stories of these women accurately. And so it was created by Black women from cover to cover. We have 4 writers who contributed to this, including myself, and over 60 Black women and non-binary illustrators who contributed the artwork to this book. So each story, each of the 100 stories features a story itself, as well as a full page illustration that really brings the woman to life and captures her essence accurately in terms of complexion, hair texture, excuse me, inconvenient timing. And beyond that has been really, the stories and illustrations really bring these stories to life. And the women in the book represent all time periods from past and present. They are legendary and little known. And they, exemplify a diversity of professions, of backgrounds, of sexual identity. And we really wanted to celebrate the diversity that exists among Black women because we are not a monolith. And we wanted to make sure that that was portrayed and that kids of all ages, of all backgrounds are familiar with these stories and that we really center the experiences of Black women. Beyond that, the women represent 4 different categories. So we have some leaders, creators, champions, and innovators to showcase the breadth of experiences that women can have. And within that, there are limitless ways that we have identified women. We have pediatric surgeons, we have women like, as you see on the cover here, Naomi Osaka, the tennis player. We have politician Shirley Chisholm. We have singer Aretha Franklin. We have astronaut Jeanette Epps. And we also have some more historical figures like Bessie Coleman, who was an aviator, Empress Teitu Betu, who was an empress in Ethiopia, which is my native country. We have journalist Ida B. Wells and women from over 30 countries represented in the book. So it makes it a really special collection that is one of a kind on its own and includes activities in the back, as well as stories from over 60 other Black women who were included in the previous editions of the Rebel Girls series. So we wanted to make sure it was as comprehensive as possible and really told all of those stories in a very fun way. And it will be accompanied with a fun marketing campaign releasing later this year with an event that really is all about celebrating Black Girl Magic. It will have a series of podcast episodes that will be aired in our Goodnight Stories for Rebel Girls award-winning podcast that will release also later this year. And beyond that, yeah, we're really excited. It has some fun activities in the back, so it really makes it a great gift for parents and all family members, but also just for young girls and boys around the world to have access to the stories of Black women who have really accomplished amazing things and really celebrate the spirit of Black Girl Magic. So thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks, Lily. That seems like a book that girls of all ages need.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. I mean, I wish I had as a kid, but I'm happy that I have that.
I really loved, you mentioned this already, but I really loved how it's the diversity of tennis players to chefs to punk rockers and just how any girl could find someone inspiring and maybe what they want to be when they grow up. And so I love the diversity there. Thank you for sharing that. Great. Move on to the Me I Choose to Be is up next. And I think we have the authors and illustrators on the line.
Yes.
Hey.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, here you are.
Okay, I see.
Do you guys want to?
So Natasha, I was going to say, do you want to start first with the
I'll start.
editorial side?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. My name is Natasha Tarpley. I'm so excited to be here. I'm the author of several books for children. Most notably, I Love My Hair, I Love My Haircut, and now The Me I Choose to Be. I thought I'd start off by reading a little bit from the opening lines of the book. Some may think they know who I am, but here's what you must understand. My creativity and curiosity flow without end, and if I meet an obstacle, I just begin again. I am a planet, a limitless galaxy, and I am the me I choose to be. So this book was exciting to me for several reasons. One, I started off early in my career writing poetry, so it was an opportunity to kind of go back to those roots. And those opening lines were written kind of in homage to Maya Angelou's poem, Still I Rise. I love the sassiness of that poem, the playfulness, and the powerful declarations of self-love. And I really wanted that energy to be the kind of energy that kids immediately encountered when they opened The Me I Choose to Be. This is a book that not only celebrates the power to choose who you want to be, but also the diversity and the joy of Black children, which is illustrated so beautifully by Creative Souls Photography. Growing up, I was a really shy but imaginative and adventurous kid. And I always had a sense that there were endless possibilities in the world that I wanted to explore. And books were the portals that really helped me to explore and learn about and discover all of these people and places and experiences beyond my immediate reality. And I think that love of reading and later love of writing, which enabled me to kind of discover my own voice as an author, kind of inspired me to create books that also encourage kids, especially kids of color, to explore their own imaginations and their creativity and the qualities that make them unique, as well as to tell their own story. This is really a book that I hope will inspire kids to tell their own stories, to really celebrate the wonderful facets of who they are. And I really hope to invite them into that world of possibility and that journey of self-discovery.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Natasha. So I'm Karin Bethencourt.
And I'm Regis Bethencourt.
And we are Creative Soul Photography. So excited to be here with you guys today. We are currently most known for our best-selling coffee table book, Glory, which we are super excited about. And we often say that we are more than just photographers. We really use our platform as a way to challenge the negative stereotypes of Black youth in the media and just showcase them in a different narrative than what's currently being shown. And
yeah, we're so excited about this book because for years, our brand has been centered around empowering Black youth across the African diaspora by showcasing their true beauty and uniqueness through photography.
So with this book, we really were just able to continue that journey of empowering our youth to dream big and really just be the heroes of their own story. We have beautiful photographs showing them in a variety of different imaginative poses, places, and spaces. And we really just hope that this imagery will show the power of resilience and dare them to dream like never before.
Let me show you guys some of the sneak peeks of the
yes.
of the pages.
So these are just a few sneaks of some of the pages. And really we use our kind of signature photographic style, but we have, just some, I guess we've kind of merged that in an artistic kind of way. So these are just a few examples if you guys are able to see.
And then this was the first page that she read.
Yes. So this is the first page that Natasha read. But again, it's just really showcasing kids in a really creative way. I think that For me, this book is something that's going to be pretty unique. I love that we got to kind of extend our own photographic style and do something a little bit different from what we're used to. But I think kids will really just enjoy this book, and we're excited to share it with the world.
Yeah.
It's such I love how the pictures just go with the words just so perfectly.
For sure.
I'm amazed at that with picture books in general, how I know they're created separately oftentimes, but they go together so well. But yeah, that's definitely a really cool partnership there. And I think you guys are also part of a keynote at Bookfest, so people can hear more about your work there too.
Yes.
So, awesome. Thanks for your time today. It's a great book to check out. Okay. Well, let's move on to Dr. Lee and the crown-wearing virus. And we have the author here as well for this one, Francesca Cavallo. I think Francesca, I think you're muted.
Oh, okay. Hello, book lovers. Hello, it's very nice to be with you today and in such great company. But I hope you'll forgive me if I'm beaming to have, this book that I'm presenting and the book that that stemmed out of the original book that I wrote, Good Night Stories for Rebel Girls. I am so proud to see what that project is evolving into. And I am very excited today to be with you, with Dr. Lee and the Crown-Wearing Virus, which is the first title of my new publishing company, the one I started after leaving Rebel Girls, Undercats. Now, books for me are seeds. So part of the reason why I'm so proud of what happened with Rebel Girls is that we planted a lot of seeds with that book. And this is what I intend to do with the books published by Undercats. This book has a very peculiar story because it was, the idea came from a short tale that I wrote during the first lockdown. Is everything all right?
I think so. I lost you for a second, but you're back.
Okay. So the story of how this book came together is very peculiar because it comes from a short story that I published on my website and distributed for free during the first lockdown at the beginning of the pandemic. At that time, I grew worried about the fact, about two things in particular. One, about the fact that when we realized that the pandemic was not a huge health risk for children, we stopped sharing information with them. So while we, the grown-ups, were obsessively consuming news about what was going on with the coronavirus crisis, to sort of have at least a sense that we could control what was happening to our lives, children were only told that they should wash their hands, that they couldn't go visit their grandparents, that they couldn't visit their friends, that they couldn't attend birthday parties, that they couldn't go to school. So they were just presented with all of these rules. And the only information that was shared with them was about what is a virus and some health hygienic practices, right? But they didn't have an opportunity to understand the historic event that they were living through. So this was my first concern, how to involve them, how to make them feel part of the history that they are living through. The second one was the fact that I grew particularly worried about the fact that children were hearing this expression, the Chinese virus, over and over and over again. And this is the worst kind, this is seeds. I mean, these kind of words are seeds too. They're not just good seeds, they're also bad seeds. And my concern was that many millions of children could see that this virus had disrupted their family life, maybe had caused the loss of the job of one of their parents, or had caused them to miss on a lot of their life, and that they could create an association between an Asian-looking face and the face of the virus. And this is, the worst kind of racism, because when these people grow up, they may not remember why they distrust, for example, Asian people, but they interiorize these very damaging stereotypes when they were children, because of course of the very damaging rhetoric of President Trump. So I wanted, in telling children the story of coronavirus, I wanted them to know that actually the first hero of this pandemic was a Chinese doctor, Dr. Li Wenliang. And I wanted them to know that the face of this doctor is the face of one of the first people that sacrificed himself in order to save humanity from this virus, and was, so brave that he risked his freedom and eventually lost his life in the fight first with Chinese authorities and then with the virus. So this is the reason why I created this book. And I would like to read from the dedication that, just as in Good Night Stories for Rebel Girls, opens all of my books. The dedication that opens Dr. Li and the crown-wearing virus is to Dr. Li's children and to the brave children of the world. As you build the future of our planet, may you always remember this extraordinary time when we found out that we do not walk alone, that when one of us falls, we all fall, and when one of us rises, we all rise. So this is, in the book, there is the story of a little girl, May, who is inspired by the courage of Dr. Li. So there is also a page at the end where the children can talk about their own experience through the pandemic. So I believe this is a great book to help children sort of elaborate the trauma that this pandemic has caused in all of us. And I really hope you enjoy it and that you look forward to the next titles that will come later this year with my new publishing adventure, Undercats. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you. Such a timely book, because I know a lot of parents, myself included, look for opportunities to have good, healthy discussions with their kids about what's happening in the world right now and how to understand something as big and complex as the pandemic.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And the book is beautifully illustrated by Claudia Flandoli, who is an illustrator that is specialized in scientific illustration and usually works with the Cambridge University in the UK. So I'm sure that you're really going to enjoy it.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Okay. Well, let's move over to Josephine Against the Sea. And we have the author again today to talk to us about this. We have Shakira Bourne on the call.
Hello, I am so excited to be here to talk about my middle grade debut, Josephine Against the Sea. It comes out with Scholastic on July 6th. It is set in a fishing village in Barbados in the Caribbean, and the story tells the tale of 11-year-old Josephine, who thinks that no one is good enough for her dad after her mom passed away. And so she creates booby traps to scare away all of his dates. And she believes that by getting onto her school's cricket team and reviving his love for the game, it will distract him from dating. But the coach says only boys are allowed to play. Before she can change the coach's mind, dad brings home a new catch, Maurice. And unlike the other women, this one does not scare easily. Josephine knows there's something fishy about Maurice, but she never would guess that Maurice would not be human. So this story is perfect for fans of the Jumbies series by Tracy Baptiste, or if anyone likes folklore or mythology, or just stories set in non-Western settings with spunky heroines. I am born and raised in Barbados. I'm still here, still living here. And my background is actually in adult literary short fiction and filmmaking. But I did decide to challenge myself to write a children's book for a competition 3 weeks before the deadline. And the idea that came to me was a story that I read when I was 12 years old in English class. It really inspired the book. So it was about a fisherman who became obsessed with a mermaid, and he stopped eating, he stopped providing for his family. And then one day the villagers found his clothes by the riverbank, and neither he or the mermaid was ever seen again. And I had so much questions after that story. Like, who was that mermaid? What happened to that fisherman? And what happened to his family? And the answers to those questions became Josephine Against the Sea. So with this book, I was able to delve into Caribbean folklore characters and mythology that I was hearing when I was growing up, but these tales are rarely documented. So for my research, I had a lot of fun going to my grannies and being like, okay, so what did you hear? You know, what was this tale that you heard when you were growing up? And I really think that I had fun exploring mermaid lore, especially the connections with the sea. I have always been fascinated with the linkages between Caribbean culture and African mythology, and I really was able to explore that with this book. Unfortunately, there are not many middle grade novels set in the Caribbean, and I cannot think of one middle grade book that is set in Barbados. So this is a story I would have loved to read when I was younger. It is funny, it has scary moments, it has a loving single father-daughter relationship, and I was able to explore folklore and Barbados and the island in a way that is not often seen in books. You know, Barbados is more than sun, sand, and sea. You know, we are a country that is full of tradition and culture. We're not just Rihanna's birthplace. There is more to the island. So I'm hoping that I'm able to transport people to my island and let them see a glimpse of the real country behind those Photoshop posters. But though this is a really fun story, and it does feature a girl in sports who is dominating the game, mind you, but it also addresses serious issues like overcoming grief. Josephine and her dad, they really have a strong bond, but there is an underlying block when it comes to talking about her mother. And these repressed feelings do manifest in unfortunate ways. So I'm hoping that through the story, readers will learn the importance of expressing these emotions and accepting change. So currently it is available for request on Edelweiss. So far it's had a really good response. It was selected to be a Junior Library Guild Gold Standard selection. And I recently found out that it got a starred review on Kirkus. So I'm really excited about that. So I hope you give Josephine Against the Sea a read and that you enjoy it.
Thanks. I love how you said this is a book you would have loved as a child. I think that's a really great reason to make a book.
Yeah. I mean, I love Enid Blyton's stories when I was younger, but when I started to explore writing, I started to write about cheerleaders with blue eyes and about crumpets, things that I have no idea about. So being able to read more books that focus on my culture, I think would have been really beneficial to me.
Yeah. And middle grade is such a challenging stage to write for. And so that sounds like an important book. It's a good one to add to your list for sure. So thanks for sharing that with us. Okay, I think our last book is If You Miss Me by Jocelyn Leland Grand. And I'm not sure, do we have Jess on the phone right now? I'm not sure we do. She wasn't sure she was going to be able to make it. So I just want to mention this book. It's definitely one to check out. It also, like many of the books that were covered today, comes out in October of 2021, but is available on Edelweiss right now if you want to check it out and read a lot about it. It's a story about loss and love, but it's just a really beautiful picture book about Charlie and trying to make sense of the world. And Charlie loves to dance her way through life with her grandma. And it's just this really sweet story of Charlie finding her answer, an exploration of loss. It's from a debut author illustrator. And I'm just really excited about it because it illuminates just this power of love to help heal. And a couple of the books we talked about today are great for having important conversations with your children. And to have a book like this that explores loss and helps children work through that can be really powerful. So definitely check it out more, learn more about it, and read some of the reviews that are available in Edelweiss, If You Miss Me, available October 19th, 2021. Thank you for all of your time today, and I hope you found some books that you want to add to your list, and you can find them in Edelweiss. You can add them to your shelves. You can download review copies for many of them. You can add them to orders. if you work at a bookstore or a librarian, and if you're at Bookfest, you can add them to your tote bag and purchase them from your local independent bookstore. Thank you.